Greetings and welcome to Flanagan's Ecologic. I'm your host, Ted Flanagan, and today I'm joined by Joel Cesare. Joel has a new job at a company called Cambio. I knew him years ago when he worked for the city of Santa Monica. He was the green building expert, and it was at that time Dennis Hayes had just finished building the Bullitt Center up in Seattle, an incredibly sustainable building, and he challenged others to replicate his success or to do more. And Joel did just that, and Dennis recognized that. Joel went on to work at Google. He's had a number of positions advising and delivering results. Happy to have Joel on the podcast today. Hey, Joel, welcome to the podcast. It's great to see you again.
Ted, great to see you. Great to be here.
Well, thanks for taking the time to be on the podcast. And where are you sitting right now as we speak?
I am in the great state of New York, suburb of New York City, Long Island, on the North Shore in a town called Green Lawn.
Very good. And you know, I'm from Long Island, and I love that. I love that neck of the woods. So I'm glad you're there. And you've just started a new job. Is that right? Was it Cambio?
That's right. Fairly new.
And are they in the city, or is everybody virtual? How does that work?
We have 3 hubs around North America. There's a solid group of us here in New York City. We have a team in the Silicon Valley, San Francisco area, and then another group in Toronto, Waterloo.
Very good. So are you in the office periodically, or are you, how does that work?
Yeah, you know, we there's a hub in New York City. I'm in there a couple of days a week at the moment. But my new job is around growth, trying to get our great product out into the market so people can learn about it. So I find myself on the road a lot as well.
Talk about the company and what it's doing. I know you're in the real estate space, but what exactly is the niche?
So Cambio is a AI native sustainability data analytics platform. So it's a software product. It's designed for the commercial real estate industry. It was created by commercial real estate investors. Our 2 founders come from real estate investing, asset management at large commercial real estate owners. And it was created by them. It was created for them. So we'll talk about, I think, more of my background, but anyone who's trying to do building decarbonization, energy management, sustainability, data compliance. There's a number of verticals that a large commercial real estate organization or a large corporate real estate organization, anyone who owns, operates, leases, manages a lot of real estate. There's a lot of data, there's a lot of compliance, there's a lot of regulation, and there's a lot of opportunity, which is where we like to sit, to find ROI-driven insights that are sitting there as low-hanging fruit within a large portfolio, but can often get lost because data is dispersed and in lots of different formats and hard to understand, hard to manage. It's a world I lived in my time at Google. And so Cambio has created an AI platform that is, I think, one of the real good use cases. You know, everyone's throwing around the term AI these days. Yeah. It's become a dinner table topic, which is great, but I think there's definitely a distinction between the noise and the reality of finding a value proposition with it. And I'm here because I was convinced by the founders as I was entertaining joining that this is a product that takes the real concrete version of AI, applies it to large data sets, lots of information, lots of data in different formats, PDFs, spreadsheets, things that are hard for humans to manage and find insights, and using AI to do exactly that.
So let's drill into that a little bit. I planned on getting into that towards the end of the podcast, but here we go. We're diving right in. How does AI help building decarbonization? I mean, can you bring it down to a specific example of where that would fit?
Sure. Well, let me, I think it'll be a good way to talk about, a good way to frame this would be talk about my experience at Google. So when I was at Google, I was on the RUSE team, the Real Estate and Workplace Services team, the RUSE sustainability team. And I was very fortunate to be right place, right time, and got put in charge of the RUSE net zero plan. That was about in 2021. So during the pandemic, Google, like lots of other big companies, really upped their aspiration, upped their climate commitment. Google's always been a leader in climate and net zero, but they kind of created some new terminology around operating carbon-free, operating 24/7 carbon-free. And the real estate organization I was on, we had a lot of really great people, really smart people, but we didn't have one core strategy that was saying, okay, what's our North Star and how do we develop a program, a roadmap to get there? And so I got put in charge of a strategy that the intention was, can we, will we, let's endeavor to decarbonize Google's entire real estate portfolio by 2030. So very aspirational, almost impossible, you might say. But I think in my career, I've always liked to hear that term, impossible. It's a nice way to get me excited about what we're going to do. And I think we'll talk about Santa Monica.
And this is not the data centers, is it? This is
no, this is not the data centers.
Excluding the data centers, which is another whole huge amount of energy.
Data centers and great work happening at Google and elsewhere. But yeah, this was the office building. So the Google employees working in our office.
Still by 2030, which is a really accelerated timeline.
Yeah, very accelerated. Again, as we started to think about it and hire experts to help us develop our strategy. Impossible was often thrown around, but Google has this ethos. When you start at Google, one of the first things you do is get this handbook, and you're told we don't use that word at Google. And so it's a way, like, they've always set these very aspirational, big North Star targets. And even if they don't get there, lots of great things happen along the way. And that happened here in my program as well. So we hired a great consulting team at Arup, as you may know, one of the world leading engineering firms. We had, so I was in root sustainability, and then we collaborated with the delivery teams at Google who were more in charge of construction and tenant improvements and retrofits. And they had a great team at CBRE, again, global leader in that type of work. We brought in insights over time from Rocky Mountain Institute to even McKinsey weighed in at a certain point. So really an embarrassment of resources, you might say, at our disposal to execute that vision. We had great insights. We launched a team of Arab people into the field of Google's thousands of buildings around the world to gather data, put it all in one organized repository so that we could start to find insights around where is the buildings that have a piece of equipment that should be electrified, could be electrified for decarbonization purposes, and that's about to reach its end useful life. Yeah. Where are there building regulations that are going to trigger fines? Where is Google planning to do a tenant improvement anyway, regardless of an energy or sustainability strategy? So, like, trying to think about how do you strategically develop a plan that is really smart, really cost effective, and really reducing the burden on the business. Again, this is a corporate real estate team, so there's Googlers in those offices, and the core job that our team at Ruse was in charge of was to not only not burden them, but really empower them to have one of the best workspaces in the world, which is one thing Google is famous for. And so I tell that story because lots of consultants, lots of time, lots of onerous data collection around the world. You can imagine there was lots of information on these buildings available from when Google either acquired it, if they owned it, or the drawings, if they built it, or the tenant improvement plans, or the owner's kind of building information that you would be tapping into if you were a tenant. Yeah. There was energy audits performed, energy retrofit analyses done in the past, but a lot of this information was sitting, on a shelf, you might say, but probably in a Google Drive folder somewhere, and it was difficult to find insights from, difficult to piece together. So we had Arup do that, we had CBRE do that. Then we had them put it into a dashboard so that not only I and our Ruse sustainability team could visualize these opportunities in one place, but more importantly, could then shepherd it to the teams, the leadership teams above us that would be making decisions about who is going to be allocating capital and where and why and how much it would cost and what might be the return on the investment or what might be the fine avoidance. So we had dashboards, we had huge spreadsheets, databases, we had cost calculators. So, another big part of this was creating customized cost calculators because regions around the world, of course, doing a building retrofit, doing a solar installation, doing a building controls analysis, technology varies, the cost of labor varies. And so we had this great team at CBRE.
You were in how many countries were you in? Dozens, probably, right?
Oh, hundreds. Yeah.
Hundreds. I think you're about to tell me that all this was brought together by AI. You were able to direct AI to...
At Google, it was not. And this made it difficult, and it made the time really a factor because it took us a year and a half, 2 years to really sort of get our house in order in a lot of ways. And that's not unique to Google. I mean, Google is an organization that's one of its taglines is organizing the world's information and making it useful. It's what the company does. So real estate, as you know, we all know at scale is just a bear to organize and manage and find insights from data. And so long way to come back to Cambio. When I learned about the AI product they've developed, and it was AI native, they developed that at Stanford a couple of years ago. They were ahead of their time. They were had a lot of foresight to know this was how this industry was moving. what if you could take all that information that sits in a Google Drive, sitting in spreadsheets, and give it to an AI engine and have that engine do a lot of what I just described for you in a fraction of the time and a fraction of the cost, and get you almost 90% of the way there for the results and the insights and the dashboards and the data management. And that's what it does.
That's just phenomenal. That's just phenomenal. So that is what Cambio is doing. You're providing that AI tool, and it's got to be. I mean, the programming of the tool must be absolutely significant, and that's really that's the intellectual property, I take it.
For sure, yeah. I mean, there's it's one of the things we do. I mean, I get excited about this idea of doing the building decarbonization planning, but there's other things that Cambio kind of fits into that are more off the shelf type verticals for just energy and data and carbon analytics and the reporting. You know, one of the things, if people follow me on LinkedIn or Twitter, over the years, especially, I've gotten really frustrated with the world of third-party reporting for real estate and sustainability. I know there's a place for it. I'm not bagging on the entire field of our economy, but I think we spend too much time, too much resources, too much consulting, having internal sustainability teams, whether it's Google, whether it's large commercial real estate banks, spend their time trying to organize this data to submit to some third party to tell them whether or not they're complying with, or they're meeting some score that's going to help them get investment, or at least to be part of their corporate sustainability reporting strategy. And so Cambio does that. It's a world we live in. It's not our favorite thing to do, but we know it's part of the business. And if we can make that easy and simple and streamlined, then we can remove a lot of that burden and allow teams to get back to work and do the actual building decarbonization. So with it, then about like the programming, the proprietary engine of Cambio is using AI tools that come from various places, whether it will not be our cloud, whether or not be some proprietary tools we developed. But yeah, it's a data moat that we're really proud of because it's something that we've been working on for years.
Right. And then in terms of building decarbonization, would that intelligence help you sort of prioritize projects? Is that would it flag projects in certain regions that make more sense than other regions? Or if it was fully applied, say, to the Google portfolio of real estate, what would it do in terms of with building decarbonization? Would it lay out a whole plan? Here's our plan for going forward.
It could get pretty far as doing the whole plan that we might have hired Arab to do, and it could do it in a variety of formats, as you just described. You might look at a map and see sort of a heat map that shows, okay, if you're prioritizing return on investment from building decarbonization, you can filter for that, and it starts to show you where your assets are around the country and where there's green, yellow, red opportunities, and then you can double click into finding out exactly what the engine's recommending. Maybe you're filtering for carbon ROI. So where is there an investment to get a return on carbon from the same kind of rationale from the financial return on investment, but you're getting the larger reduction in emissions from the investment. Maybe it's fine avoidance, as you described. So you can look at the map, you can filter for where do we think there's going to be building energy performance standards and at the city level that are going to lead to fines in the future. Where are we, one, at risk? And then two, where's there opportunity to avoid those fines with an ROI-driven energy efficiency project? And then you can drill down, so you can see this kind of macro 40,000 square foot perspective, but then double click into the individual asset and find exactly the recommendations. Sometimes it's building control. Sometimes it's as simple as LED. Sometimes it's pretty advanced, finding opportunities to connect to a nearby district energy system to take yourself off a boiler system and find a thermal loop within the municipality.
So and as you said earlier, you get yourself pretty far down the line. I mean, maybe 90% of the way there. What's the last 10%? Just reviewing it and making sure that things really do make sense, or what is the human refinement of that product?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have professional engineers. I mean, one of the secret sauces, again, that the founders identified early on was there's the computer science, there's the AI side of the programming here, but there's also the marrying of that with building science, with building physics. And so it was born out of the urban informatics lab at Stanford with PhD, some of the smartest building science people in the world. We have PhD building science, data science professionals on our team. And so it marries this data science, AI with building science. And to answer your question about the last 10%, again, software can only do so much. Eventually, you're going to have to hire someone to go out there and replace the boiler with a heat pump. But if we can get, again, 90% of the way there with software, then that alleviates not only a lot of time, a lot of cost, but a lot of the sort of the I guess the way I'd say it is like the engineering politics in a way. I mean, that's something I saw not just at Google. After Google, I worked at a company called Block Power, another exciting climate tech startup that was trying to do building decarbonization at scale. And in that role, I was go to market. I was talking to a lot of building owners, a lot of commercial real estate owners, a lot of corporate real estate owners. We were trying to be their turnkey building decarbonization partner. And when you start to work with sustainability teams, project delivery teams, the building engineers that they've hired over time, of course, there's people kind of guarding their turf and recognizing their expertise and saying, all right, we already had a plan. We don't need you coming in here and tell us to do something different or try to streamline it. And the same thing will happen at any scale of this work. And so there's always going to be someone who's responsible for the asset who is going to have to double check whether AI or even if it's a building engineer that's doing it now. I mean, there's, that's part of the process, as we know.
Now, let me ask you a simple question. Are you one of these people that when you need to write a letter, you start off with ChatGPT or? It's an interesting question. So I'm at an AI company. I've only been here 2 months, and we try to, as a group, really encourage ourselves to create every process we do with being AI forward. We want to use the tools. We want to be experts at using the tools. So I would say I'm using them more now, but I've always considered myself a good writer. I like to write. And so I haven't gone to that step yet where it's going to write for me. However, I use it a lot to try to do some of the research for me to make it a lot quicker. No, it makes sense. And then how do you juxtapose the energy intensity of AI and all the discussions that are being had now nationally and internationally about the energy demand of the growing AI market and with all these data centers? And you're a sustainability guy. How much energy, how do you justify that? Or how do you feel about that? Is that an uncomfortable aspect of your work?
Well, it can be, but it's a question that needs to be asked. It's a question I ask myself, and I, as a group, as a team, we're a sustainability-driven company. Our founders come from commercial real estate, and like a lot of responsible professionals, they want to do what's best for the planet. But they created a product that we think can stand on its own, with or without a company's net zero plan, with or without a sustainability commitment. It's finding ROI-driven insights that are going to help real estate owners improve the value of their assets. So that being said, we also are operating in the world of sustainability, and we try to always think deeply about who we are and what we're doing and how we align with our clients and the employees that we hire. There's expectations that we're going to be part of the solution. And as you said, I've been doing this a long time. I decided 20 years ago this was going to be my career. I was going to find a way to try to save the planet, or at least improve it in the world of buildings and real estate. And again, coming from Google, where we owned 40,000 square feet of not owned. I was in charge of operating 40,000 square feet of global real estate, 40 million square feet, I should say. And that being said, that's a lot of emissions. That's a lot of footprint. That's a lot of energy. It's not really a lot compared to what they're doing with their data centers, and especially as AIs continue to grow. So that was a conversation we were having at Google too. Like, hey, do we matter? Like, what's the point of what we're doing here? And so,
But I would imagine with the work that Cambio is doing, that you could show that by using the energy and using AI, you're uncovering so many opportunities that are cost effective that you have a huge net benefit in terms of decarbonizing society.
I think that's exactly right. And that's where we'll get to at scale, of course. And if our clients take the insights that our product recommends, that'll be exactly the case. There'll be incredible delta between the impact we have reducing emissions compared to the emissions that are happening because of the use of AI data centers. But I would actually push that back on you. How are you thinking about that question? With everything you've seen in your career, with the wave of AI that's coming, do you find yourself thinking, well, was everything I've worked on now been
being wiped away? I'm very concerned about the data centers and the amount of energy. And I think it's fine. I mean, like what you're talking about, the application you're talking about, and that Cambio is promoting, I think it's just easy to see that there's a huge net benefit. I don't know where the vast majority of AI is being used, and is it being used in a way that really is hugely beneficial to society, or is it just another way of being cost effective and in worst case, I guess, cutting jobs? So it seems as though you're using it in the very best way, to really drill down in large portfolios and really find solutions that wouldn't have been found, or like you said, would have just been buried kind of on the shelf or in the drive somewhere. So, hey,
I mean, I'll just say one last point on that. I've been now working on or thinking about how to decarbonize existing buildings as the primary focus of my career since, I'd say, 2021 at Google. And then even on the side, when I was at Google, I was a partner in a group that tried to create a small private equity group to buy real estate. We called it Z&E Capital. My co-founders had a thesis that we could buy existing multifamily in certain markets where there was the right utility rates and the right solar irradiance, and target master metered buildings where an owner could benefit from deploying solar across the roof. And we bought 6 buildings. And so that was a existing building decarbonization play. And then I went to Block Power. Its entire business model was to try to decarbonize existing buildings. So I've been working on this now for a good 5 years from a bunch of different fronts. Google, Block Power, my own buildings at Z&E Capital, and now Cambio, we're looking at it from a different perspective. It is hard work to do. To execute the building decarbonization of existing building is hard. But what you continue to see over and over when you see it from all these different perspectives is the opportunity. There are ROI-driven retrofit opportunities everywhere if we get smarter, more streamlined, reduce some of the soft costs, reduce some of the middlemen, and get to the work quickly. It's a huge opportunity. So I think if Cambio can help us find that, the impact will be huge.
Yeah, that's really great. Makes a lot of sense. Very targeted application of AI that has huge societal benefits. Let's go back to when we met in Santa Monica. We don't have that much time on the podcast. I want to make sure we talk about your role there and the building you built. I was so impressed. I think it's on your LinkedIn page that my friend Dennis Hayes has praised your work in Santa Monica, and he had gone through that whole exercise of developing the Bullitt Center in Seattle, which is this amazing place. And I guess after he did that, he said, okay, I want others to replicate this, or to even go beyond what I've done. And he claims that you did just that. So describe that project, will you please?
Yeah, well, it was a career-defining project for me. And first of all, I appreciate you saying I did not build it. I was a part of the team that built it.
Well, you're the project director. You had a big role.
I was the project director for a few years, definitely through a very challenging point of the design process and the entitlement process, which we're very proud of finding our way through. But I mean, speaking of Dennis Hayes too, what a legend in the world of green building, environmentalism, sustainability, right? If there's a Mount Rushmore of people protecting the planet, he might be on it. And I remember I was, I still am a nobody, but I remember being like this low-level staff at the City of Santa Monica sustainability team, but interested in replicating what the Bullitt Center did early in the design process. And we reached out and said, Dennis, would you be willing to advise us? Would you be willing to talk to our team? And couldn't have been more open and excited about offering his time. And then famously, in one of the very pivotal moments of that project, when we were presenting to city council and the budget had gotten higher and it become a bit of a lightning rod in the community, which you might remember because it was pretty costly and it was using some very new systems that some folks weren't comfortable with in the public health and the building safety department. We had him record a video and patch him into the city council meeting when we were to get approval for the budget. And it was this amazing, powerful speech that he gave, not just about what they did at the Bullitt Center and his experience, but what the opportunity we had at Santa Monica to deliver something special. And so that's exactly what we did. I mean, from the very beginning of that project, talk about impossible. I remember being in one of the early design charrettes when we said, we think we want to try to do this living building challenge thing. And someone from the architecture firm who were world-class couldn't say more about Fred Fisher and Partners and what they helped us execute. But, of course, their job is to be like, I'm not sure this is possible. And a few of us in the room were like, perfect. That's what we want to hear. You had us at impossible. And so through a lot of really great collaboration and incredible leadership at the city level to just continue to point to a North Star that the city had an opportunity. You've been there a long time, Santa Monica. It's a place that prides itself on being at the cutting edge. And we thought this building was an opportunity to really put another stake in the ground of where Santa Monica is living that reality.
And remind me, it's a 50,000. I've been in the building. It's a 50,000 square foot building. It is What's its function? I know there's some offices in there, maybe, or is it all offices?
It's mostly office on the top 2 floors, but the primary driver of that project was to create a one-stop permit center in the first floor. So it's public as well. It became a place where, so as you know, it sits behind the existing City Hall, which is a National Historic Landmark. It's a beautiful piece of architecture, but an old building that over time had its challenges to serve the public from a permits perspective. And the new we call it City Services Building. It's since been renamed City Hall East. The first floor was meant to be public facing, so it'd be a more optimal experience for the public for their permits.
And you mentioned some of the challenges with, I think, public health and just getting it permitted. What were the big challenges? It seems like one of them was the waterless urinals, and was that part of it, or there was? Well, I'm forgetting. Was it rainwater? I think we were involved with rainwater collection off the roof. That was
off the roof, because you guys were helping with the solar. Yeah, so the roof had to be permitted as a certified collection area for what would become potable water, which was the first of its kind at the building level. So the two big permit entitlement challenges were treating rainwater collected on the roof of a building to potable levels, so people could shower and drink the water that landed on the building. And the second was composting toilets. So you said waterless urinals. It went further to actually being the place where on site we treat and process human waste and convert it into usable Class A composts, the first of its kind, the first office building to do that in California.
Fair to say that it's working fine?
Oh yeah, I've been there a couple times since, because
doesn't smell like a dairy barn or anything.
Composting toilets were really my, I would say if there's one thing I could hang my hat on that I drove, was like the permitting and the analysis and the development of the strategy to deploy the composting toilets. So we did a lot of homework around the country to learn where and how they've been deployed. The Bullitt Center uses the same technology we use. Chesapeake Bay Foundation in Annapolis uses it. The Bronx Zoo uses it. So there are a few places where we could learn from, but never done at a municipal public office building like we were building. So I've been, even as I left Santa Monica and went to Google after the project was finished, it was really important to me to go back and see it in operation. I've done that a few times, and from everything I understand, it's working great. It doesn't smell. I mean, the idea is it's aerobic digestion, so it's oxygenated. It's not a place that should smell if it's managed properly. It's really kind of basic compost. Now it's using technology and sensors and automation to make it easier and have less human interaction with the material, but you're essentially using a biomass, which is what humans create in the bathroom. And then you're adding other materials like wood chips, and it has vermicomposting. There's worms in it, and you're adding certain levels of moisture. So if you manage those inputs at the right ratio, and you're constantly oxygenating it, and you have the right level of ventilation, then it shouldn't smell, and it should create a really earthy, healthy byproduct that hopefully can be used beneficially around farms in the region.
That's really great stuff. Congrats on doing that. And then at Google, if you had to, when you look back, and what would you say was your greatest accomplishment?
Well, we built this net zero program, which put together a strategy to decarbonize almost 1,000 buildings within 10 years. And whether or not that happens is to be seen, but I'm really proud of the effort and the team that I helped build and lead to do it. Not only the external consulting and engineering teams, but the wide range of collaboration it took internally with my colleagues at Google across the world to really put together a strategy that we thought was execution ready. Yeah. And then, talking about AI and machine learning at Google. So when I was working on the net zero program, you start to think about where are the emissions in Google's real estate coming from. The on-site gas burning, the scope 1 emissions from fossil fuel burning on-site for heating and cooking and hot water heating was our primary focus. We were really focused on building electrification, but we started to see that even if we were really effective at electrifying buildings, then what would become the next biggest hurdle would be the fugitive emissions from refrigerants leaking from our electrified equipment, which was new to me. I wouldn't say going into Google, I knew anything about that as a problem. But one of the cool things you get to do at Google is join these periodic charrettes where they throw people from all different parts of the company into a room or into a collaboration studio to say, what is everyone working on? Is there ways we could be collaborating across silos? And I went to one of those and said, we're learning about refrigerants, and it's kind of an onerous, really analog, human intense process to go around the world and measure our refrigerants and check if they're leaking and track that over time in spreadsheets. And this was like, again, kind of back to Cambio, thinking that sounds like something that we should be doing with AI, or at least better technology. And so we won a competition, me and a couple of folks at Google, some on the tech side, some on the machine learning development side, some on the hardware side. And we ended up filing for a couple patents for a machine learning based anomaly detection system that takes inputs from sensors within a thermal loop of a HVAC system. And over time, hopefully, and this is what we filed the patent for, will begin to find and maybe even predict those refrigerant leaks before they happen. So I would say, again, another great use case of where AI, machine learning, is hopefully going to find some real life applications that can solve big problems.
Yeah, that's really great. You've done so much. We're trying to cram it all into a half an hour. This is a great first interview with you. Tell me this: how do you keep balance? I know that when you're out here in SoCal, you're out surfing. I see a surfboard on the wall behind you there. I know you've got young kids, so you've got an automatic balancing act going on there, or an inevitable balancing. But how would you say you keep balance so that your engines are fully charged and ready to go?
I appreciate the question. And yeah, that surfboard still gets to use here in New York. As you know, Long Islander, there's surf out here on the South Shore. So I try to get out when there's waves, even in the frigid cold. I surfed in February this past winter. Mm-hmm. My two girls were, they're 4 and 6. They were both born in August. We have a tradition with Dad that every year on their birthday, they're going to surf, which they've done here in New York as well. I got them on the mountains. So we've been doing some skiing and snowboarding here in the Northeast. It's not the same as out west, but there's mountains, and my girls love to get on a board, whether it's surfing or skiing, just like Dad. So, yeah, I find a lot of joy in making sure I'm staying connected with the ocean.
That's really great. Well, it's really great to see you. I thank you for your time, and it's great to see that you're thriving and just really making a difference. I noticed that you have a mission of dream, inspire, deliver. I love those words together. That's fantastic. Thanks so much, Joel.
Ted, thank you. From our time in Santa Monica, I saw you as a mentor. I learned from working with you and your team, and it's a real honor to be on the show. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. That's it. Thanks for listening to Flanagan's EcoLogic. We'll see you next time.